The original people of this land. We have been reclassified, but we was already living here when the Spanish, when the French, when the British came here. We've been here for thousands and thousands of years, not only in America, but in Canada, in Mexico, Central America, the Caribbeans. These people took over our land, not only in America, but Papua New Guinea, Africa, Australia, the Pacific Islands, are the original home of people that look like us.
Before this nation was named, indigenous black peoples lived, built, and governed here. The great world's fairs were remnants of their cities. Across this nation once stood many centers of black commerce, not one Wall Street, but many. These communities were connected by trade, by innovation, by grand world fairs. They represented an older world still alive, and that continuity frightened those who sought control. So those centers were dismantled, their prosperity erased by the very forces that later claimed to civilize this nation. The word American describes the people of the copper-colored race. Its original heirs, the original nobility of this country, are the so-called black Americans. They are heirs to history's old...
That is how I see.
Well, that's why, if you really want to not offend people, stop calling people African Americans.
Yeah.
Use the word African, and you're insinuating 12.5% or higher African blood. There's a lot of black races. The Africans are the only ones that are fucked. The Moorish people, all these other cultures, all these other bloodlines that would never in a million years be classified as a Negro. It even says right in the definition, all colored people, Negroes are always colored people, but not all colored people are Negroes. Literally one of the definitions right out of the book. What that definition is referring to is there's a lot of black races that are not of African descent. When you say African American, you're saying persons. You're calling them a persons. We think that's friendly. We think that's kind. And we don't realize that we're essentially insinuating that they are a released slave of African descent. And we're insinuating they are a persons and not a people. I mean, I wonder if you have more standing as neither than you would as a persons. Like, if I wasn't a free white man and I had to choose between being a persons or being just like nothing, I'd almost say like, I'd rather be stateless or have nothing than be a persons, than be an African. Let's say a real dark-skinned Brazilian person. You know, what is their bloodline? What is their... certain Indian tribes have very dark skin. There were people who were here in America even before us that had dark skin, and they're out in the sun all the time, and who knows what, and they look even darker than they really are. All Negroes are colored people, but not all colored people are Negroes.
So, escaping that matrix, learning, conditional acceptance, learning, whatever. There's just so many areas to really sink your teeth into.
20-year plus plan that when you think of Reconstruction. And so with that in mind, you have folks who, I'll start first, who said, Q, why are you putting Native Americans in here? Why isn't this just for black people?
Well, black people are Native Americans. You know, we've had, you know, a lot of proof that, you know, some of us started here in this land. Everybody wasn't brought over from Africa. So, you know, we have to, like you say, unpack all of that and try to, you know, find the true lineage of people in this country because some, I used to tease family members who would say, I got a little Indian in me. I would think they didn't want to be all the way black. But when I really do the research, a lot of them did have a little Indian in them. So, it's one of those things where, we want to be counted on all levels, not just, through slave ships. Like I said, we were here before Columbus. So a lot of us. And so we want to make sure that's included and not excluded.
How much more proof do we need? We have the receipts. We are the copper-colored American Indians. Let it be known worldwide.
Right here is brown. Okay? Brown. Our skin complexion. Brown. Copper. Right here. Brown. And it looks like us. In here, you see? Copper. You see the phenotype? Looks like us. Alright? In here, see? Brown. And it looks like us. Our phenotype, our hair, crown, feather headdress. Copper colored American Indians. Copper colored American Indians.
Black indigenous Americans, I want to show y'all something real quick. When the colonizers first came here to this country, they said the natives here were copper colored. I'm currently in Track Supply, and I'm buying some copper right now. And so when I talked to the tribal president of a Manatee over there in Rhode Island, she said, yeah, we were copper colored. This is copper. This is a copper pole. Copper ground wire. As you can see, I'm the color of copper. I'm the color of copper. In fact, the tribal president from the Manatee, her name is Miss Williams. She's one of my relatives. And she messaged me on Facebook a couple of days ago saying, hey, we have similar ancestors. Tribal president of an actual Indian tribe, one of the first tribes that the colonizers interacted with, told me that you're Indian. So understand something, when we say that there were copper-colored Indians there, you just saw the actual color of copper.
Africans don't call themselves that because I know my tribe. I have my language. I have my region, my country, my whatever. Like me saying European American. I'm not European. I'm specifically Irish and German. But you can't say that. You are American. You're the original Americans. Everyone else is immigrants. You can't even be called immigrants. You're originally American, and your culture is as close to being the indigenous culture of America as there can be without you being the indigenous people. You're the indigenous people of the entity called America, called the United States of America. Everything else came from elsewhere. Your culture is the only one that came from right there, because you're cut off from everything else. There's nobody else like that. There's nobody else like that.
You're not African. You've never been African. The truth is out. Now, if you just love Africa so much and you just can't let go, then goddamn it, so be it, have at it. But what I've asked you guys not to do is, if you're not going to accept it and do the research yourself, please don't hinder somebody else from figuring it out. What we don't realize as Black America is, once we get past all of these roadblocks, we'll start to see that America owes us more than what they can repay us. And the only reason they haven't paid us back is because